Hello and welcome. The National Tankers Drivers Association has escalated its ongoing strike to include drivers who transport all forms of petroleum products. The strike, which began on Monday, saw drivers who transport mainly LPG abandoning their trucks in protest of their treatment by the Bulk Oil Storage and Transportation Company Limited and the National Petroleum Authority. James Ishen visits some LPG retail outlets and come through with this.
The Ghana National Tanker Drivers Association set-down strike entered the second day, with most LPG retail outlets still shutting down operations in solidarity to back their demand for good working conditions and fair treatment from the National Petroleum Authority and the Bulk Oil Storage and Transportation Company. The tanker drivers claim they have been unhappy with the continuous ban on LPG stations and the construction since 2017. Sources say they've intensified their ongoing strike to include drivers who transport all forms of petroleum products. We earlier visited some gas refilling station in the country's capital, but as usual, gas station attendants were idle and not providing services and assistance to the customers. John visited the Anisette gas refilling plant in Audome to check a gas cylinder leakage, but he's been turned away.
I just want to fix my leaking gas.
But when you came, what are they saying?
The whole place is empty. I mean, I have gas. I have one empty cylinder and then one full, but it's leaking. So I just wanted them to check it for me. So which means I can't even use my stove. At
the Aveno refilling plant, we met Sam, a taxi driver who wanted to fill his cylinder, but unfortunately, he suffered same fate.
It affected me because one am the juma. That's a qua. That's a banner ni. Also, to me, share tankers no bois. Because them bas ebian me ba beto bia me ba ya menye bi ha me pa nti esra ban ne se on hwe ho so asem man na oman moedi na se wesu be kan wa ene is bobu ti se ne esre.
We in day 2 of the Ghana National Tanker Drivers Association set-down strike, and right behind me you could see the metallic board still written no gas and no entry. As of yesterday, when we visited the same premises, we had the gate being open, but today it's been locked. We understand they've intensified the strike action this time, and what we are gathering is that other drivers transporting other petroleum products have also been asked to halt operations. So this is basically in solidarity with respect to the Tanker Driver Association set-down strike. Reporting for Joy Business, James Ishen.
Tonight, we want to dwell on the justification of the ban on new LPG outlets, and joining us via Zoom to do so is petroleum strategist Dr. Yusuf Suleimana. Thank you so much for your time, Doc. Was the ban justified?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon or good evening to you and to your cherished viewers out there. Can you hear me, please?
I can.
Okay, thank you. If you look at what happened before the ban, one can say that the ban as a then was quite justifiable. As an industry player, if you look at what happened prior to the incident that happened before the ban, we had a couple of incidents that happened, and that culminated into a major one that we had at Atomic Junction. Normally in the industry, whenever we have, incident of that nature, that result into loss of life, property, asset, environment, and other things. I mean, if you look at the risk assessment matrix, if you want to quantify it, it comes as the highest of severity. So yes, as at that time, the logical thing was to do, because it was quite repetitive, was to just put the ban on. But years down the line, I think there has to be engagement. Why the ban is still in place at the moment, one cannot tell. Because if you listen to the other party, that is the PSPs, the petroleum service provider, the LPG marketers. It means that what we are understanding is that they've done everything that is possible for them to do to get the license back to operate. But what is happening, why they are not allowed, to reconstruct their refilling outlet is something that we need to interrogate further. So, but if you look at technical point of view, yes, if safety protocols are not adhered to, I think the logical thing is that the regulator has the right, to ensure that, the protocols are adhered to. So I think what we need now is just engagement. They have to engage with the regulator, and I know a lot of work has been done in this regard. So I think what we need now is just to engage the two parties to make sure that we resolve that. Because the last thing we need is to create an artificial shortage of a commodity that is already becoming increasingly very expensive for consumer. Yeah.
But Doc, let us understand what's the industry's best practice in terms of safety protocols with regards to LPG handling.
Yeah. So if you look at if from where I sit, industry best practice, I'll be frank with you. If I look at the current model of operations of this particular outlet, there's a lot that needs to be done. But however, in industry, we have something we call alert, like as low as reasonably practicable. When you take measures, you look at the gains that you're going to get with respect to the measures. Is it disproportionate or is not disproportionate? Let's say banning complete ban on the usage of, this filling outlet. I think it shouldn't be the way to go. What we need to do is just to make sure that we put in controls, what we call control measures. It can be proactive, it can be reactive measures in place to make sure that we can still have our LPG supply to the consumers, at competitive rate. And I think, was it a knee-jerk reaction? I don't think it was. Like I enumerated in the beginning. What happened before the incident? This ban came on. This particular ban came in place. I think it was clear that we needed to have that particular, a bit of fallow period for us to reassess ourselves to see whether our safety protocols, we are adhering to them or not. So yes, the regulator has to engage them and then make sure that all safety protocols that are required to put in place are put in place, and so that they can be come back to. They can bring back services to the consumers. Yeah.
But what is the way forward for this?
Yeah. So yes, the way forward, I believe, is engagement, like I mentioned, because what I think is there is a kind of a fallow period that nobody knows what's going on. The regulator or the government has to engage these marketers to understand what is required of them to put in place in order for them to be given licenses to operate again. And I think also maybe some people were already given licenses. What we need to do is to probably come up with technical audits. If, let's say, we are not satisfied with whatever safety protocol that are put in place, let's come up with a technical audit team to re-audit these filling outlets to make sure that they adhere to 1, 2, 3, whatever safety protocol that we require of them. So, because at the end of the day, if we don't do that and we continue to leave this to become protracted, I think it's not in the best interest of the PSPs, and it's not in the best interest of the regulator also. But I think a lot of work has gone on in this area. We only need to make sure that we resolve it amicably. Yeah.
But what are the likely consequences of this protracted shortage or hold up?
Yeah, it's clear. The likely consequences are dire, especially to the environment. I don't think we will have to force consumers to have alternatives to LPG. Because at the moment, if you look at what is happening in the global energy space, we are gravitating to cleaner fuel. And I think LPG or gas is the credible replacement for heavy fuel hydrocarbon as we speak now. So if we leave it and it protected for an elongated period of time, and we allow the consumer to have an alternative. And what's the alternative here? The alternative is just to have firewood. And even that alternative may not be available may not be easily reachable for all. So yes, the consequences are dire, and then we just need to make sure that we find a lasting solution to that. Environmental-wise, yes, we might end up, going back to firewood, and you can imagine in the situation whereby we are moving to green energy, going back to firewood, I think is detrimental to the environment. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yusuf Sulemana. He's a petroleum strategist. Now,